What's up, everybody? September's coming faster than you think, and we're going to go over the top 5 elk vocalizations that you need to master before September. We're here with Mile High Game Calls, and they're going to take us through their top 5 calls that you need to master before September hits.
These are the sounds that I think every elk hunter needs to know going into September. Basically, we lean heavily into the diaphragm calls. That's what we sell, that's what we make, that's what we specialize in. The question we get a lot of times is, you know, how do I put a diaphragm in my mouth? How do I get this going?
Right.
I just want to touch on that real quick. So basically, the biggest thing with using a diaphragm is getting it in your mouth and getting used to it. Because a lot of people they're with the gag reflex, they have a hard time just keeping a diaphragm in their mouth. So putting the diaphragm in your mouth, raising it to the roof of your mouth, and just getting used to the diaphragm itself, that's going to yield big time, just getting comfortable and starting making elk sounds.
Okay. Where do you want it on your palate? I know some people put it in and they put it way too far back, and that's part of what that triggers the gag reflex. You get it too far back. Where do you like to place that on your palate to get the best sound?
So I like to put it just right in the roof of my mouth. So
like right behind your teeth,
not
back?
Too far from my teeth.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just kind of. So yeah, I like to put it in the roof of my mouth, slightly behind my teeth, and basically you just want to lift up with your tongue into the latex to start making noise.
And what part of your tongue are you using?
The tip of your tongue.
The tip of your tongue. Okay.
Yep. So our goal with most people is just to start making noises with the diaphragm. And then from there, you can start to make different elk sounds as you get comfortable with it.
Okay.
And that's all going to depend on the tongue pressure against the latex and what kind of variation in sound you get. So my top 5 elk sounds that I think every elk hunter should know about going into September, we lean heavily into cow calling. We always start our sequences cow calling. So I think a standard cow call is something every hunter should know in September.
For sure.
So you can do a lot of different pitch variation with a standard elk call. You can extend it. You can even enhance it with like a bugle tube or something like that to get different pitch variation. But just a standard elk call, basically you can use that to obviously call in bulls, but you can use it to locate elk, and you can use it to stop elk as well. So, you know, that's one of the benefits of having a diaphragm and knowing how to cow call is if a bull's, you know, coming in, you can stop that bull and get a shot.
So yeah, if you only have one, you need to have a cow call with a diaphragm so that you can be hands-free
exactly
while you're waiting, and you can cow call to get that bull to stop so you can make a good shot.
Yep. So yeah, so just a standard cow call, I think that's the first call every caller should know, every hunter should know in September. And then what we like to do is we like to mix calf sounds in.
Okay.
So what this does with the calf sound is you're not only representing multiple elk, cow-calf communication, but you're also basically attracting an adult cow to come to a calf.
Right.
A lot of times those adult cows have bulls with them.
Right.
So if you can, and I've actually had bulls come into lost calf calls as well. So I like to mix calf sounds in with standard cow sounds as well.
Okay.
So just a little bit lighter on the tone, just not as loud of a call.
Okay.
And then you can add some nasal, in there as well.
Is the pitch is that different?
Yeah. So basically, with the lost calf sound, basically you have a little bit. It's not as high volume as an adult cow, but you want to have that desperation, right? You want to have that, like lost elk. If you ever hear them in the woods, they're making a lot of noise. And they're just trying to get the attention of something.
Is it a little bit like the pitch of the call? Is it a higher pitch than like a cow call, or roughly the same, just a little bit shorter or in length?
Yeah, it's a little bit shorter, I would say, a little bit higher pitched, not as defined, and they do it pretty consistently.
All right, can you demonstrate 3 cow calls and then 3 calf calls?
Yeah. So this would be your standard adult cow call. And then this would be a calf call. So you can hear the difference between the two.
Yep.
So.
All right, what's next?
So the third one would be an estrus cow call.
Okay.
So basically this is a sound a cow would make when they go into heat. And a lot of times when a bull hears this, they'll respond to it well, because obviously they're chasing cows that are in heat.
Right.
So we like to throw it into our sequences. If we're not having luck with the cow-calf communication, we do like to throw estrus calls in.
Okay.
So there's a couple different ways you can do estrus calls. You can add the estrus on the back end or the front end. And I'll demonstrate kind of how we do that.
All right.
So this would be just a standard estrus call on the back end, and then I'll do one on the front.
Okay.
And this is one on the back end. So both different types of estrus calls, but I think those are super beneficial when you're trying to attract redding bulls.
Okay, so how do you add that estrus sound into your call? You're able to do a calf and cow call. How do you add into that estrus whine, so to speak?
So basically you start out with your normal cow call, and then it's really the finish or the beginning. So, and the way you make that estrusy sound is basically using your lips, almost like a buzz bugle.
Okay.
So you want to basically buzz with your lips into the reed, and to make that estrus buzz.
Okay, so demonstrate that without the call in.
Okay.
Like
So
what do you do with your mouth, and what does it sound like without the call in there?
Okay, so with an estrus bug, I guess on the front end, it'd be you want to kind of similar to a buzz bugle. You want to basically run your lips together, like, and basically to get that front end going with the estrus call. And on the back end, it's a little bit different strategy. A lot of times it takes a lot more back pressure. And when you finish it, just like when you finish a bugle, you have that groan, that back pressure at the end of a bugle. Same kind of concept when you have the estrus on the back end.
Okay.
So.
All right. What's next?
So the other call I take into the woods, I guess, is just your standard satellite bugle.
Okay.
And this bugle represents a smaller bull, maybe a bull that's trying to establish territory or maybe challenge a bigger bull. And I would say we use this call 90% of the time when we're elk hunting. So it's not a buzz bugle, it's not a real deep bugle, it's not a challenge bugle, it's just a typical satellite bugle. We want to try to mimic an annoyance bull, a satellite bull that's coming in on the herd, and try to get that bull to come chase him off, basically.
Okay.
So this would be basically a standard satellite bugle. So nothing crazy, nothing, no buzz bugling on it, just a standard crisp bugle that basically will get that herd bull fired up.
Okay.
And or even get other satellites to come in.
Perfect.
The last call I think it's important to have kind of in your back pocket is a challenge bugle, just because if you do get a bull fired up, you want to be able to, I guess, piss him off and get him to come in. We call it stepping on him. And one of the strategies you do that with is, a buzz bugle.
Okay.
Typically bigger bulls, herd bulls buzz a lot when they're running cows. So we like to mimic those bulls and challenge them.
Okay.
So this would be an example of a buzz bugle. So basically it's a loud call, it's an aggressive call, and it's what a lot of big bulls do when they're running cows.
And to get that buzz, you're just buzzing your lips again, just like the estrus call.
Correct.
You're doing it with a bugle.
Yeah. And everybody has different strategies. I mean, I've always found kind of buzzing my lips with the estrus cow call helps me make that sound. But I mean, you might ask, 4 or 5 other callers, and they might have different ways they make that estrus bugle or describe it. But that's kind of, I found the easiest way to make that estrus buzz.
Okay.
Because some people call it an estrus buzz.
Right.
So.
All right. So what are your tips? Say, guys, looking to go in September, go hunting in September. He gets a call now. How's the best way to go about perfecting your ability to make these calls when you're jacked up in the woods and things are happening? How's the best way to go about just practicing now so that in September you're not practicing on the way to your hunt?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I can give is just get a reed, buy a reed, get it in your mouth, and start getting used to it, and start making sounds. We always tell guys at shows or guys that call us to, put a box of reeds or a case of reeds in your truck, and on the way to work, practice, because a lot of times you're going to irritate the significant other by practicing at home.
Right.
So really, it's just a matter of being comfortable going into the season, starting out with the diaphragm, start making sounds, and then trying to be more defined in what sound you're making as time goes on. Basically, you want to be able to make any sound in the elk woods at any time that you want to make.
Right.
You don't want it to be a random thing when you go to the woods. So the best time to start is now, when you're in off season, so to speak, and just getting familiar with the different sounds and how to make those. There's a ton of resources online. We have a ton of resources to help people make those different sounds.
Okay. Where can they find those resources at?
So we have a website, milehighnotegamecalls.com.
Okay.
So we have a website. All of our links are on that website to our YouTube, all of our products, obviously. And then we have Instagram, Mile High Note Game Calls, same Instagram handle. And then we do have a YouTube channel where we have a lot of different tips, tricks. And we do have an instructional CD/MP3 where people we'll take guys through a whole, basically how to put the diaphragm in your mouth to how to start making sounds, kind of what we talked about in this video.
Perfect. The last thing I want to go over is how do you pick the right diaphragm for you?
Depends if you're a beginner caller or basically a more advanced caller. As a beginner caller, basically you're probably going to start out with a single reed diaphragm.
Okay.
It's a little bit easier to use because you don't have multiple layers of latex. So it's going to be a lot easier call for people to start with.
Okay.
So it's all personal preference. The more advanced you get, the more layers of latex you can kind of break in. You can do a lot more pitch variation with a double or triple reed, for example. But it's really all what works best for you. So a lot of younger hunters will start with a single and then work their way up.
If somebody calls in and is like, hey, which call do I get? I'm brand new. Where do you steer them towards?
We have basically 5 different variations of diaphragm reeds. We have kits kind of on our website with our original reeds. So we have a 3-pack, basically has a single reed, double, and triple reed. So a lot of guys will start with a single reed, work their way up to a double, and then eventually a triple. So we have packs like that. And then this year we came out with our Dome Series calls. Those are all single reed calls, but they're super easy for people to use.
Okay.
We got a lot of positive feedback. You can open those calls right out of the package and make really good sounds.
Okay.
A lot easier than you will with our flagship calls.
Okay.
So
Does that dome help people kind of figure out where to put that call in their mouth as opposed to the original ones?
it does help with that for sure. I mean, I think that's one of the advantages of a dome is you have more of a consistent placing of where to put it in the roof of your mouth because it more naturally goes into the roof of your mouth with that dome. But it helps with air pressure as well, having that dome piece on there, and only obviously one layer of latex. So it's beneficial for guys from that standpoint that are trying to get air through the call. The dome helps with that.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. Thanks for watching. Now is the time to get started on how to make your elk calls for this September. Time's ticking. Go check out Mile High Note Game Calls, see what they have to offer, and give them a try. They have plenty of different options, and I'm sure that you'll find something there that will work for you. I want to thank the guys from Mile High Note Game Calls for coming on, and as always, have a great adventure on your next outing.